currently in terms of EV adoption, there are a lot of incentives. What do you say? Government support being provided. In Delhi, we can see a lot of adoption already being there because we see a lot of pollution out there in Delhi, which we used to hear in terms of the air quality index getting badly degraded. And also, there are a lot of these things actually put in place where the government is also providing incentives for fleet operators to kind of utilize electric vehicles over there in Delhi. So Delhi is the I would say the place where the electric adoption is the highest. Apart from that, we have certain manufacturing hubs. One is Delhi NCR around there, and then we have in Maharashtra, and then we also have some in South India around Chennai. We also have in Hyderabad. If you look at even the Telangana government has come up with their own EV policy, and there are a lot of incentives that are also being provided in case someone is interested to set up manufacturing plants.
Has there been any study on the electricity consumption? Is there a target the government wants to move the ICE vehicles into electricity? Right now, what is the percentage? And from now, what is the target? And if they move to that target, is the country equipped to produce that kind of electricity? And if it is, what is the impact on the environment?
Understood, ma'am. I think that's a very valid question that has been pointed out. So yeah, on one side we are saying that yeah, electric vehicle penetrations need to be increased. But yes, do we have the grid infrastructure already available to kind of support the electricity requirements for charging of these electric vehicles? So yes, so that is also something which the government is currently working upon parallelly. There are also quite a few companies or startups that are innovating, that are already there in this specific space, innovating in this specific space, basically understanding how this thing is being managed in the Western countries and kind of trying to replicate things over here. But yes, right now we are not ready to kind of the penetration levels that the government is envisioning. If we suddenly, for example, tomorrow have such kind of penetration levels, we are definitely not in a position to provide the relevant electricity for the vehicles to get charged. But that is something which is actually happening parallelly, and that's a very another important activity that needs to be in place for the penetration levels to increase. And in terms of the government projections, as per Niti Aayog, two electric two-wheelers are projected to reach almost close to 80% by 2030. Three-wheelers around 60%, and four-wheelers we have the passenger car segment close to 30% and 70% for the commercial segment. So these are the targets which the government has taken and working and is kind of working towards ensuring that this turns into a reality.
Lovely. That's amazing, especially if the commercial vehicles, if they're targeting like that. So we can assume that the pollution levels will come down with the electric.
Exactly. True, very true.
So which of the states in India, where are the manufacturing facilities right now for these vehicles in India? Which states are giving a lot of incentives or pushing these?
Yes, ma'am. So if we see currently in terms of EV adoption, there are a lot of incentives. What do you say? Government support being provided. In Delhi, we can see a lot of adoption already being there because we see a lot of pollution out there in Delhi, which we used to hear in terms of the air quality index getting badly degraded. And also, there are a lot of these things actually put in place where the government is also providing incentives for fleet operators to kind of utilize electric vehicles over there in Delhi. So Delhi is the I would say the place where the electric adoption is the highest. Apart from that, we have certain manufacturing hubs. One is Delhi NCR around there, and then we have in Maharashtra, and then we also have some in South India around Chennai. We also have in Hyderabad. If you look at even the Telangana government has come up with their own EV policy, and there are a lot of incentives that are also being provided in case someone is interested to set up manufacturing plants. There's quite a few things being provided by individual state government themselves.
Which of the companies are coming up with EV vehicles?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, like if we see right now, like if you look at the ICE vehicles, so already we know the standard brands like Hero, Honda, Bajaj, TVS. So these have been already been there in the market. So they are also coming up with new EV models. And on the other side, like I stated, since the EVs are not so much complex compared to ICE vehicles, there are also quite a few good players that are coming up with focus on the EV segment. Like we have in the two-wheeler space, we have players like Ather, Ola, and then we have few other brands that have recently come up. Like we have Okinawa. There are quite a few brands. I mean, if I have to name, there are so many brands available because of the low entry to barriers. But these are some of the ones in the two-wheeler market. And in the three-wheeler market, we have Euler Motors, Mahindras, and all these things are all these traditional players are also bringing in EVs, which can replace their existing ICE vehicles. And Tata has done quite a bit on the four-wheeler side. We see the entire four-wheeler market being captured by Tata. And then we have some of the models available with Mahindra, and then we have with MG Motors, Hyundai. And on the buses, we have our own Hyderabad-based Electra, which is a electric bus manufacturer, and then we have Tata, who's having their own electric buses, Switch buses, which is a Ashok Leyland subsidiary company, and then we have JBM buses. So there are quite a few brands that have actually come up and are doing a lot of innovation in this specific space.
Shmel, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you very much on very interesting presentation. I too very interested in the subject of electric vehicles and electric transportations. And I want to ask you a question. What, according to you, need to be a role of government and authorities of India in development electric vehicles, in development infrastructures of electric vehicles?
Okay, like if I understood correctly, you want to understand what is the role of government in kind of setting up or manufacturing and kind of promoting the CB adoption. Yeah. So yeah, just to answer your question, if you look at the Indian market, the government had a very important role to play. Like I already pointed out, there were certain FAME 2 subsidies that was provided by the government for all these manufacturers. For all the vehicles that are kind of rolling out of the production line, they gave certain portion of the overhead cost the government has actually borne for these vehicles, which actually helped in the initial setup of the manufacturing lines, rolling out of the vehicles into the market, and also customer started adopting these specific. So the initial traction was actually kind of provided because of the incentives, production linked incentives provided by the government for these manufacturers. They also provided certain incentives for setting up of charging infrastructure as well. So these were some of the key initiatives taken by government, which fueled the initial growth that was required. And now we have the kind of a momentum all built. Now we have a lot of private players also coming in, setting up their things. Also established players also kind of getting into this specific space. Now it's a combined ecosystem which is actually driving the things. And also on the demand side, like I stated, to the end consumer, there were also certain benefits that were provided initially to promote adoption. That maybe, like for example, in our state Telangana, the initial 5 lakh electric two wheelers, they would get a registration fee waiver in case if there's an electric vehicle. So these are the kind of some state level government initiatives that were there, which actually helped in the initial adoption of the electric vehicles. So now, even in the recent budget session, there was a certain budget that was kept aside for the FAME 2 subsidy. However, the utilization is something which they are actually planning, so that the next level of adoption would happen. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Our next question is from Mr. Lalit Mohan Singh Negi. He says, is EV good for the Pahadi states? That is the northeastern, the hilly states.
Yes, I think very very valid question. Yeah, in terms of I mean, when we look at ICE vehicles and the electric vehicles, so ICE vehicles have been there from almost quite a few decades. I mean, if I have to say, almost 7 to 10 decades, we had these ICE vehicles which have developed over a period of time. And if you look at electric vehicles, if you see, hardly we are into this specific space, maybe 3 to 4 years down the line, and very few players were working beyond that specific timeline. So yeah, in terms of vehicle innovation, there is a lot that needs to be done. Yes, in hilly areas and where we need a lot of torque requirements for the vehicle to kind of carry a lot of loads, there are certain constraints on this space. But yeah, there are companies which are actually working on a day on basis as we speak to innovate in this specific space so that all the use cases are addressed. And yes, these are kind of certain teething issues which any new innovation would face when an adoption actually starts in. Yes, there is a gap, but definitely, I mean, going ahead, I mean, these gaps would be fulfilled.
Must be also very good for the environment.
True,
Especially
true, very true, very true, ma'am.
okay. Next question is from Mudit Sharma ji. He says, what about the battery life? I heard it's nearly 5 years and the cost of replacement is very significant. Is that true?
I think that's also another valid question that has been pointed out. So, ideally, what the current battery, whenever it is kind of utilized, right, there is a kind of degradation that happens in the electric cells as we keep charging and discharging. So, there are also ways in which the battery needs to be charged and discharged so that the life actually kind of get enhanced. There are a lot of things on that specific side as well. We are coming to specific to your question. The electric vehicle battery, normally the OEMs are actually giving, when they started, the warranty was for 3 years, and then they have extended for 5 years, and then now we see in four wheelers almost 8 years. So as the innovation is happening, even the, what do you say, the life of this battery is also kind of getting prolonged. But going ahead, we can see a significant improvement in the life of battery. Yes, I mean, if we have to replace the battery, like I stated, since it is almost 50% of the vehicle cost, so that will be a costly affair. They are actually kind of out of the warranty, then yes, that will have a deep pockets at this point in time. But going ahead, I think that is also an issue which will be taken care of.
One question is, are sodium battery packs next in line?
Yes, like I touched upon, so there are quite a few alternate chemistries that are being kind of researched and looked upon. So if we see right now, we have the NMC nickel manganese chemistry that is very prevalent, and apart from that, we have the LFP lithium ferrophosphate, and then we have the sodium ion, which is also another big thing that's actually happening. But yeah, commercially, like I stated, we are at NMC and LFP, where we can see a lot of vehicles. On the sodium ion, there's also a lot of research that's actually happening, and I see some big companies also investing in this specific space. Going ahead, yes, that could be also another alternate chemistry that could kick in.
There are a lot of two-wheelers. Is it very difficult to get financing for the two-wheelers?
That was the case definitely a couple of years back, if I have to say 1 to 2 years back. But right now, with a lot of stringent norms in place for even getting the vehicle out of the production line, so the quality of the vehicles have improved. So I mean, there's also a resale market that's actually kind of coming up. But yeah, nowadays, I mean, the financing market has actually improved, and definitely going ahead, it's going to improve a lot.
Is government subsidy available for charging stations?
Yes, I mean, in FAME 2, I believe there was a certain portion that was even allocated for setting up of electric charging stations, where there are kind of certain overhead costs, and also in terms of electricity cost reduction. These things are actually being provided by the government. Yeah, they were there.
Is the battery disposal an hazardous to the environment?
I think that's another good point touched upon. So if you see the lithium-ion battery, almost 90 to 95% of the battery is totally recyclable. So since the penetration levels are pretty low right now, so we don't see a much of a recycling market kind of evolving. So as the market matures, we will have a lot of vehicles that come to their end of life. So that's when we see this recycling would happen. But yeah, in terms of the specific question that you pointed out, 90 to 95% of the battery pack, the components that go into a battery pack are recyclable.
This question is from Narendra Nath Talukdar. Don't you think ICE, BV, BEV, HEV, CNG, LNG will coexist as per the requirement, economy, or convenience?
Definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, like I stated, to the end consumer, it's all about affordability and the kind of experience which he's actually getting. So all these are alternate ways of kind of commute. A lot of research is happening in all these spaces. But yeah, like I stated, commercially, EVs are a little ahead. Going ahead, yeah, I mean, in future we could see all these things coexisting as well.
There's that question, is it viable to set up EV charging stations?
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, I briefly touched upon. So it was a kind of a chicken and egg problem that actually happened, wherein like if someone sets up electric charging point, so typically he has to have that inflow of vehicles from which he or she can kind of generate revenue to kind of take care of the initial investment he has done. So that is the reason even government has actually kind of provided few incentives or benefits for setting up this specific charging point. So at this point in time, yes, because the penetration levels are low, so there are I mean, in terms of viability, yes, it is a challenge at this point. But as the volumes increases, as the penetration level increases, this is going to be a very lucrative market going ahead.
This is a question from Gautam Lahiri. Chinese companies are doing very well in terms of manufacturing long range batteries. How can Indian companies adopt the same technology? This will really help in the TCO of an EV.
Uh, that's very true, I would say, in a sense. Yes, I mean, Chinese vehicles are actually designed and developed for working under specific conditions, because Chinese market and Indian markets, the road conditions all actually kind of vary. So yeah, I mean, if we can, I believe that's what the model in which we are also looking at, where a lot of emphasis was given on product manufacturing of these vehicles. But yeah, the only challenge that comes in is we need to develop vehicles suited for Indian conditions. So that's what actually kind of differed in the earlier 2 3 years scenario, where a lot of people imported these Chinese models and tried to kind of fit in the Indian ecosystem, which didn't work out that much. So right now, Indian companies are stepping up, putting a lot of emphasis on the R&D, developing electric vehicles, sourcing almost 100% from India. I mean, we are dependent on the cells, but yeah, developing the vehicles for suited for Indian conditions. So that's what the current market is looking.